Hi, this is Jeff Lew, the creator of Killer Bean. I guess the big question about Killer Bean is how I came up with the character. At the time, I was a big movie action fan and a big John Woo fan. Um, and I was also learning how to do 3D animation. So I thought of the idea of doing a really simple character, pretty much a sphere with arms and legs, and I decided to give him two guns in the John Woo style. So it's sort of a life of its own kind of came about through that, and comedy just lended itself to the character. And the story here is based upon what what someone would do if someone else would disrespect him. Like, say someone would cut in front of you in line, or someone would splash you with a muddy puddle while you're on a sidewalk. Most people really don't do anything about it, but Killer Bean is the character who really does something about it, and he does it well. So it's really a lot of fun to animate Killer Bean because you don't really have to follow normal human physics, because since he's a bean, people realize and they accept really funky and wild actions from him. In terms of creating the animation, it took me about 3 years, but that's not full time. It's 3 years part-time, on and off. I would have a full-time job. I would come home at night and do it for 2 to 3 hours a night. Sometimes I would just take the whole summer off from it and just take a break. It was only beginning of this year, that I really pushed forward. I really wanted to get this thing finished and get it out there, because I have a usual habit of not finishing my projects. But I'm very happy with how this turned out and the attention that it's gotten. A lot of people ask where I came up with the choreographies. Most of them are spoofs of other movies. For example, the whole two golden gun thing was inspired by Face Off. And later on, when we see the whole rooftop showdown, that was actually inspired by seeing the Matrix trailer. Not really the Matrix movie itself, because I kind of did this before the movie came out, but when I saw the trailer, I just totally got inspired by its style and the use of slow motion and effects, and I wanted to kind of get something like that in this movie. For example, you see there they call it the bullet time shots, where the action is stopped but the camera is still moving. And here's a typical John Woo action, shooting through walls and shooting through the floors of things, getting the bad guy. I also wanted to try, I wanted to put life in these characters, so I like to give them a lot of reactions. Like, when things happen, I like to show their reactions of what they're thinking, like, oh, we're in trouble. For example, the bad guys will be like, holy cow, just like that. And Killer Bean, we'll see coming up here, he has a very stern face, but then he just breaks out into laughter. I didn't want to go the Bruce Willis Rambo style, where the action hero is just a serious, hard roughneck. I wanted to give a sense that Killer Bean is having fun doing what he's doing. Yeah, I know you have to be sensitive in terms of the violence in this. And yeah, for the future Killer Beans, there won't be too much more of Killer Bean going off and blowing away innocent beans anymore. Even though we don't know if these beans are innocent, because they have all these weapons and things like that. But it'll be more clear-cut in the future. For future episodes of Killer Bean, there will be a bad guy who, in the beginning, I'll definitely show that he is bad and he needs to go away. There's very little dialogue in Killer Bean. I think because I was mainly focusing on the action and the cinematography. So the story is pretty light. Um, Definitely, I want to develop more storyline. I think I'll develop newer characters that cooperate with Killer Bean, kind of like a trio thing. Um, but Killer Bean 2 was mostly a directorial display, I guess. Trying to see what I can really do with the use of computer animation, to see if I can make a movie that was close to being live action in terms of the way it was directed. Here is, I guess it's kind of a controversial scene where we have this flashback, and the big question is the scene at the end of the flashback where we see the bad bean on the toilet. A lot of people wonder if there's a deeper meaning or a deeper some symbolism to this, but not really. I mean, the whole point of the flashback was for me to kind of parody that whole flashback scene style where we usually see scenes that we've seen before shown in the movie, but I wanted to kind of stick something that no one's ever seen before, and the bean is kind of in a compromising situation where he's in a really private situation, and we're not supposed to see something like that. So it doesn't really mean anything greater than what it is. It's just just toilet humor. And here we have a sense of kind of a happy ending, but I don't really want to portray too much of a happy ending because the Killer Bean did something kind of bad, so we don't want to make things easy for him in the end. So eventually the alarm clock goes off and he's irritated again. Well, here you see a list of the software I've used. Most of it is home computer software that you can buy off the shelf. It's not very expensive. The total amount of software would cost around $1,500 if you were to buy each one. And the computer I used was just a home computer.